Alright, it's September 9th, 2012. We've got about, just depends, maybe 30 to 45 days before our first frost hits. And I'm going to make a little video showing how I cut a pepper plant back to keep over the winter in my greenhouse there. They're growing in, these are growing in a raised bed right here, and I'm going to go through and select the ones I want to keep. Some of the plants in there are 2 or 3 years old, and I've done this way every fall, for a couple of years now, and it seems to be working for me. And it's not the only way to do it, but it's how I do it. And that Fatali plant right there on the end of the bed there, this was its 3rd year, so at least I'm not killing them. So maybe I can show you some ways to do this that'll help you out. I'm going to give the camera to Mel here, and go over here and get started. Need a couple of decent pair of pruning shears. This is I think they call it an anvil type, and this is a bypass type. And I'm just going to cut all of this green young growth back, and I'm going to cut it right above a node or a growing point where the branches come out, like right there. That's an old node. This is where I cut it off last year. I'm going to cut that off right there. I may leave a growing point growing like this with some leaves and stuff, but basically gonna cut it back and shape it up the way I want it to look. I'm gonna leave that one growing. I'll eventually come back probably and trim this up again, but get in here and cut all this stuff off. It looks like I'm, really drastically cutting this plant back, and actually I am. There's going to be very little green left on it. It's going to just mostly be a stalk here. And there's some peppers that are nice and ripe, ready to go. See right there, where the branch makes a fork or a Y, that is a good place to cut. And I like to cut real close to that. If you cut in the middle out here like this, all of this part will die. There's no place for the new growth to start growing from, and this will all die back and rot. So it's better if you just cut it off close to that node right there. That the stalk or the wood right there is a lot more dense, and it seems to not rot. So, and the new growth will start out around there too. So. I think I'm going to take that one off, that right there. Take that. You can see that's where I cut it off last year. You know, this particular plant has been cut back several times. I mean, it's like I say, this was its 3rd year growing, but I actually have cut it back probably 6 or 8 times total. So it this doesn't kill them usually. And that whole limb there, it's growing from way down deep in the trunk there. I'll probably eventually take the whole thing off, but I'm just gonna trim it back for now. Leave a little bit of leaves on there. You know, the plant will use those to make some energy to regrow here. This isn't part of this plant. So there you go. That's a before and after type thing. That I'm going to let that plant grow. Like I say, we've got, you know, maybe a month or a little longer before our first frost, and I'm just going to let it sit out here after pruning it back for a couple weeks, and it'll start making new growth. And when it starts doing that, I will dig it up out there. I'm going to lose some roots. There's no way with the amount of roots that I'll lose that it could have supported all of that green growth that was on it. So and it'll be using the existing root system to help it take off and get the growth going on it. And then we'll dig it up, prune the roots back, pot it up, and we'll put it over there in the greenhouse, and hopefully it will produce another crop probably about January or February, and then we'll be able to put it back out in the garden next spring, April. It's how I do it. Like I said, it's not the only way, but it has worked for me in the past. So there you go. Thanks, Mel.